All right. Good morning. What is up, everybody? How we doing? Matt Moda here on the Betting Pros YouTube channel with another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, live every Wednesday and Friday at 11 a.m., going through the entire NBA betting slate. As for today, we have an 8-game slate. I'm going to give out 10 picks total, but we're going to be officially playing 6 total units because we're going to have some leans, some half unit plays in there as well. Before we get into today's picks, we got to recap last stream, which unfortunately was brutal. Just a terrible, terrible stream in terms of some bad reads and then also some horrible luck. And I got to say, I loved the board on Wednesday. I loved what we had. So I'm not going to sit here and say I was like, oh, I was just forcing picks. It was just a bad night. We did get 2 separate guys get hooked. We had Luka, 35 plus points. He had 34. We had DeJounte Murray over 7.5 assists, and he had 7. That DeJounte Murray one particularly hurt because everything screamed that play going over. He had like 20 potential assists. He had 5 in the first half. But L is still an L, and it all goes down the same in the record books. We don't get asterisks for getting hooked. So on Wednesday stream, we ended 2 of 8. So we went 2 right, 6 wrong, down 4.62 units. We would have broken even if we just didn't get hooked. So on the entire year, that brings us dangerously close to breaking even. We are up about 1.09 units on every single stream combined. But after last stream's horrible luck, I got a great feeling about tonight. Make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Make sure to share, to share the link with your friends. And then, of course, get all your comments, questions, concerns, everything in the chat. I already see some people in here. Mr. Sparkle, let's go. Yes, we absolutely do need a winning day after Wednesday. And then Norlando Adams, appreciate you for joining. And let's get into today's picks. So again, we're going to have 10 total. We're going to have a couple leans, a couple half unit plays. We're playing 6 units total. Our first play is in the Mavericks versus Hawks game, and we're taking Luka Doncic over 10.5 assists. This is best offered at plus 112 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. And then you will see the DraftKings line up on the screen as well. I like this play as a fade of recent events. Luka has only gone over this number in 3 of his last 10 games. Granted, twice of the 2 of the times in which he went under, he had exactly 10 assists. So very, very close. But this is the type of matchup where Luka can rack up a ton of assists. Obviously, we're taking the over 10.5, but he can get us to 12, 13, 14 with this matchup against the Hawks. And it's not as though Luka just suddenly became a bad passer, right? He's still 3rd in the NBA, both in assists per game and potential assists per game as well. He's averaging 16.4 potential assists per game. The only 2 guys ahead of him are Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton. And now he gets the benefit, as I mentioned, of going up against the Hawks defense. Among the worst defenses in the NBA. They can easily be torched with assists by playmaking guys like Luka. Luka is excellent at getting into the teeth of the defense, making decisions, driving to the basket, whether he gets Derek Lively on a lob, whether he kicks it out to an open shooter. He should be able to get, like I said, into the Hawks defense, penetrate the perimeter with relative ease, and then make decisions from there. And he's an excellent decision maker. Over the past month, the Hawks are allowing the 3rd most assists per game to point guards on the year. They're allowing the 2nd most assists per game to someone of Luka's playmaking style. And then even more recently than that, overall, they've allowed 6 of the last 9. That's very nice. 6 of 9 point guards to go over their assist number, including some that just crushed their over. Like Steph Curry had 8 assists on an over-under of 4.5. Trae Jones had 12 assists on an over-under of 6.5. Of course, Luka is always a threat to score like 45 points, but for tonight, I like his assists. That's our first play, starting off with a banger. Question from Norlando, how many bets is too much for a slip? I'm not sure if you mean like a parlay or just how many bets in a night. It all depends on your unit size and your risk tolerance and stuff. There's not like a blanket answer to that question. It's a little more nuanced than that. Unfortunately, not to cop out, but it does kind of require like, oh, how much are you betting? Excuse me, and all that good stuff. So we're 1 play deep, second play. In the Rockets versus Hornets game, I'm taking Fred VanVleet, 4+ made 3-pointers. DraftKings is giving this to you at plus 160 odds. This is just a half unit play here. I really, really like the matchup. I wanted to McSlam this one. That for me, McSlam equals 1 unit. But VanVleet's been so hit or miss recently that I didn't quite feel comfortable putting the full unit, the full McSlam on it. And as I mentioned, it's been a rough stretch from a shooting perspective for VanVleet. He's only even made 3. So not even the 4 number we're taking it, but 3. He's only made 3 or more 3-pointers in one of his last 5 games. In that game, he did make 5 against the Knicks. But outside of that, in the 4 other games, he's only made 1 or 2 3-pointers. So you're probably asking, okay, with all that said, why are we on him tonight? Well, number one, if you've tuned in to enough streams, you know I love fading recent events. NBA season's wild. There are tons of highs, tons of lows, and things tend to swing back and forth. So whenever things start to go one way, generally they start to go the other way. Obviously, that's not perfect, but I do like to find situations like that. And this is a great example of a fade recent events type of play. The past 2 games, Fred VanVleet has made 2 of 10 3-pointers in both games. So 4 of 20 combined in a 2-game stretch is very much not good. What I do love is that volume of attempts, 10 3-pointers. And then the game before that, before this stretch, was when he went 5 of 12 in that same game against the Knicks. And the defense that the Hornets play should be an opportunity for VanVleet to once again hoist 10 plus 3-pointers, and probably going to swing back the other way because it's not like he's suddenly turned into a bad shooter. The Hornets are one of the worst defenses in the NBA at guarding high volume 3-point guards, 3-point attempting guards like VanVleet. 4 of the last 5 point guards against the Hornets have gone over their 3-point total over under. CJ McCollum, in that stretch, he made 4 on an over under of 2.5. That's exactly what we're hoping Fred can do. And the Hornets literally give up the most points per game to someone of Fred VanVleet's shooting profile, which makes sense considering everything we've said. So I can see the argument for his points as well. So I think it's at 16.5. That's not a bad play either. I'm sticking with the juicy odds on the 4+ made 3-pointers. That is our second play. Before I get into the third one, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. So if you're looking to up your game in sports betting, look no further than the exclusive Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. In the Discord, Betting Pros has gathered a team of expert handicappers giving you free picks for NFL, NBA, college basketball. Unfortunately, college football is over, but we're in the middle. I guess it's kind of towards the end of the Australian Open, but tennis picks, soccer, anything you're looking for, player props, live betting, futures, all that stuff you can find in the Discord. So you can get in on the action, connect with individuals such as yourselves who are sports betting enthusiasts. You can talk to the pros to enhance your own strategy. So join us in the Discord today. Take your sports betting experience to the next level, bettingpros.com/chat. To answer the question from Orlando about bets in a night, again, it just depends. It really depends on your unit size and your comfort level. Like if you're playing everything for half a unit, then you can get a little more volume. If you're playing 1 unit or even 2 units, then you're going to want to lower that. So again, it really just depends on your comfort level. I don't have a specific answer for that. Next game that we're going to talk about is the Suns versus Pacers game. And I'm actually going to have 2 plays on this one. The first one is Jusuf Nurkic over 10.5 points plus 105 odds at DraftKings. This was a positive EV banger that I found on the Betting Pros app using the cheat sheet, the recommended picks. 5-star play. They project Nurkic to have 14.2 points in this one. So you could even pump him up a little bit higher if you wanted to get spicy and get some pretty good odds. And I just love this play from the matchup against the Pacers, right? The Pacers give up the most points per game in the NBA to someone of Nurkic's shooting profile, which makes sense because the Pacers also give up the most points per game in the paint. And that's where Nurkic does all of his damage. The Suns, their trio of studs, Booker, Beal, and Durant, they're a predominantly jump shooting team, right? Especially from the mid-range, which means Nurkic is really the only one scoring in the paint. And he's not horrible at it. He's not like Embiid, of course, but he's also not, he's got some back. He's not a no bag kind of guy. Now, the last time these 2 teams played was not that long ago, and Nurkic only scored 4 points. To me, that's a great opportunity to use the flip-flop method, bet on him to have a better game tonight. In that game against the Pacers, if you remember, Beal scored 25. He's more so like a teen in the teens type of score. Kevin Durant scored 40. Now, those two guys plus Booker are always a threat to go off. But even if their scoring normalizes a little bit, that leaves more opportunity for someone like Nurkic. So I really, really like this play. Full unit on that one, McSlam. Next up, same game, Suns Pacers. This is going to be a half unit dart throw on Bradley Beal over 1.5 made 3-pointers. This is best offered at plus 158 per the Betting Pros consensus. Now, this was another play that I found using the Betting Pros app, the cheat sheet, as they project Beal to go over this number. So this is another 5-star play, 36.5% positive expected value. And the crazy thing that I found about this is they project. I should say, better way of phrasing this is Betting Pros gives Beal a 52.5% chance of going over this number. And remember, we're getting this basically at plus 160 odds. So it's kind of nuts that they actually favor him going over for something that we're getting for as high odds as we are. So it's another half unit 3-point prop here, just like the Fred VanVleet one. This one isn't quite as much a fade of recent results. Beal has actually cashed this in 2 straight games. Granted, prior to that, he'd been under in 4 of the previous 7 games. And in general, this year, he's very hit or miss from 3-point range. Like, he had a 2-game stretch where he made a combined 12 3-pointers. In a 2-game stretch, he made 8 and then had 4. Then the next 3 games after that, he made a combined 1 3-pointer. And now it's been 2 games since that stretch, and he's made 5. So that just goes to show you how streaky he's been shooting from deep. And since he's in the middle of a hot streak tonight, I think it does make sense to back him. Now, in that same game these two teams played, he didn't make 1 3-pointer, and he only attempted 1. That's more of an outlier. He was able to score at will in that one, so he didn't need to shoot. Yeah, it's definitely possible that he could maybe do that once again. But like I said, that 1 3-point attempt is more of an outlier than anything. In every other game in the past 7 games, he's attempted at least 4 3-pointers. So I think he should be able to get up 4 again. And could he shoot 50% on the Pacers? Again, really, really bad defense, possibly for the odds and the EV that we're getting it at. I think it's worth it. So we're 4 picks down. Next, before we get into the next pick, I want to talk to you about the 1-year premium subscription giveaway that Betting Pros is running. So if you want a chance to win a premium 1-year subscription to Betting Pros, it's a place where you can bet smart, not hard. I mentioned a ton how I use the app. I think it's phenomenal. All you need to do to be entered for that giveaway is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Hopefully you are already doing that. You're already subscribed. And then, of course, just comment. All you need to do is those two things, and you can be entered. And then I would recommend turning the notifications on when you are subscribed. So that way you can be alerted when new episodes drop. Catch not just these live streams, which I appreciate you tuning into, but a ton of other content that they're putting out. So 1-year premium subscription giveaway, subscribe and comment, and you are entered. So we're 4 picks down. We're almost halfway done. Next game, Clippers versus Raptors. So I'm actually going to have 2 picks in this one, but both of them are going to be leans. The first one is going to be the Raptors plus 8. This is best offered at minus 112 per the Betting Pros consensus. This is a game I really didn't know what to do with, to be honest with you. I have 2 leans, like I said, just to make you get something if you really do want to bet this game, if you're a Clippers or a Raptors fan. The first one here, taking the Raptors plus 8. I generally liked this spot for the Raptors, and it's more so, I will say, a fade of the Clippers than it is being really confident in the Raptors, which we'll get into that. But I was able to use the Betting Pros app, just using their kind of odds comparison tool, and get a pretty good price here. Every other book has the spread at 7 or 7.5. So getting the Raptors at plus 8, that is a pretty good play. Again, I found that using the Betting Pros app. But like I said, it's more of a spot play against the Clippers, because I don't love the spot for the Clippers. This is the first night of a back-to-back, and they're traveling tonight from Toronto to Boston to play the Celtics tomorrow. So you wonder, like, how much are they going to be able to get it up for this game against the Raptors team in another country, Raptors team that's been struggling, and they have a huge matchup against the Celtics. Like, the Celtics have been the best team in the NBA the entire year, and the Clippers have been probably the best team in the NBA for the past 2 months. But I will say, as of right now, nobody is expected to be out. There's no injury news on the Clippers, but that's always an uncertainty. You never know, late minute scratch. Maybe they only play limited minutes, anything like that. The reason why I'm not making this an official play, as my dog goes nuts in the background, sorry if you can hear that. because the Raptors have just been terrible recently. Since the OG trade, since the Siakam trade, and since Jakob Poeltl has been out, they've lost 8 of their last 12 games. And in that 12-game stretch, they have the 5th worst defensive net rating in the entire NBA as well. Now, for this game specifically, now Quickly is also going to be out. So it's just a complete no touch. But I do, if I had to give out a pick, I actually do think the Raptors cover the 8 points. Next up, same game, another lean. James Harden under 18.5 points, minus 110 odds at DraftKings. If there wasn't so much weirdness going on with this game, like the back-to-backs and stuff, I probably would have McSlammed this one instead of just making it a lean. With all the defensive issues that the Raptors are having, a lot of them are just protecting the rim, right? Their guard defense isn't terrible. Their perimeter defense isn't terrible. They cannot protect the rim because everybody's been injured who would protect the rim, like Poeltl. And then Siakam is pretty good at that. And then even OG is a good guard defender and stopping guys from getting into the perimeter. And they're also giving up a ton of offensive rebounds, again, because of how weak and banked up they are in the backcourt. Well, James Harden, at this point in his career, he cannot really do damage in the paint at the rim anymore. He lost a lot of his burst and his first step to even get around the defender guarding him. And he can't elevate like he used to at the rim. And losing Quickly does hurt the Raptors on the offensive end. Defensively, it actually does help them. They don't like the Raptors don't have terrible guard defenders. Bruce Brown's a good defender. Now, Scotty Barnes is obviously a bigger guy, but he's not a bad defender. And this also is a good spot to fade Harden. Just not even from the matchup, but just the spot itself. He's gone over in 2 straight games. Prior to that, he went under in 4 straight games, and he's been under in 6 of his last 7 prior to this 2-game stretch. So great night to fade the Clippers in general. Great night to fade James Harden as well. And as I sit here, I'm more and more talking myself into this play for James Harden, and Space Cram saying sprinkle on Raps money line. I don't hate that by any means. Definitely sprinkle is the key word there, but I don't hate that. 2 leans for you guys. I might end up playing the James Harden one. I'll have to give you an update there later. Next play, our 7th pick of the slate, Magic versus Grizzlies. Franz Wagner over 1.5 made 3-pointers. Best offered at minus 104 per the Betting Pros consensus. This is another lean, unfortunately. And it's our last lean play. So don't worry. Everything else is a full unit McSlam play, our last 3. But this is another game, the Magic Grizzlies, I just didn't know what to do with. The Grizzlies are similar to the Raptors in that they barely even field a healthy NBA roster, whereas the Raptors was because of some trades. The Grizzlies is because of some injuries. Like, I've never seen a team as decimated as the Grizzlies are with injuries. It's crazy. Bane, Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose, Ja Morant, Steven Adams, and then dating back to last year, some other guys are hurt as well. It's just crazy. Their starting lineup might not even have 3 recognizable names to non-diehard NBA fans. So it's a tough team, tough game to handicap. And then on the Magic side, to start the year, they're on fire, one of the darlings of the NBA. They've really fallen off recently. Like, at one point, they were the 3rd seed in the East. Now they're all the way down in the play-in with a 23-21 record. And Franz was hurt for a couple weeks. He is back, but he's not playing great back from injury, not as good as he was pre-injury. But to finally get to the play itself, he has been shooting. Each of the last 2 games, he's gone 2 of 5 from deep. He's really the only one in the Magic starting lineup that will hoist from deep because, like, Fultz is a good player. He won't shoot. Jalen Suggs isn't terrible, but he doesn't like to shoot. And the Grizzlies are one of the best matchups in the NBA for 3-point props in general. With all the injuries at the guard position, they just can't guard the 3-point line. Like, they're listed as the best matchup for power forward 3-point props, which is not Franz. And they're listed as the 2nd best matchup for small forwards 3-point props. That is Franz. So I really like this as a lean play. Again, I'm not putting a half or full unit on it. It's more so just a lean. Before we get into the next one, let me just take a quick sip of water. And before we get into our last 3 picks, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros app finally. I've mentioned a decent amount how I use the app. I use it to line shop for main lines. I use a prop bet cheat sheet as well to find positive EV bangers. You can find the app at bettingpros.com/apps. The link to that's in the description of the video as well. I use it the most, and I talk about it the most. I use the prop bet cheat sheet the most, I should say, because player props is where I find I have the best edge. So I love diving into player props. The Betting Pros app is a great place to do that. You can find their recommended picks based on the current lines that the books are offering and the projections as well. If you, and I also like, you can sort by just the highest percent of EV. If you're just looking for positive EV bangers, sort by that. If you're looking for, you can sort by win percentage. So if you're looking for parlay pieces, like you have a bonus a boost is what I'm looking for that the sports books are offering. Sort by win percentage and find plays that have a higher likelihood of hitting. Put those in a parlay. Or you can sort by biggest difference between betting pros, their projections, and what the sports books over-unders are. That's how I find a lot of my pumped up props. So the cheat sheet's awesome. I log all of my picks on the Betting Pros app as well. Bettingpros.com/Modi will take you to my profile. Link to that is in the description of the video as well. You can sign up for a free trial. So if you download the app, you can get access to a free trial of their premium offering. So I mentioned that we're running a giveaway. You can also sign up for a free trial by downloading the app. And then it syncs with your sports books. That's the last point I'll make here. I think that's awesome. You don't need to track anything manually. Syncs directly with your sports books and does it all for you. Bettingpros.com/apps. Can't recommend it enough. 3 plays left. All 3 are going to be 1 unit McSlams. I love all 3 of them. The first game of the last 3 is in the Cavs versus Bucks game. Donovan Mitchell over 30.5 points, -110 odds is the best offered price per the Betting Pros consensus. And I know if you tuned into Wednesday stream, we were on Donovan Mitchell and he burned us. And this is actually the second time that I'm doing this. I'm taking a player that we were on earlier in the week who didn't come through. It didn't work the first time. That was the DeJounte Murray play. That was horrible. But I'm not scared off of that, and I just because of that. And I really, really like this play. That game where Mitchell went under was one of his worst shooting performances on the year. He scored 23 points, and he shot 10 of 24 from the field. 10 of 24 is not terrible. It looks a lot worse when you shoot 2 of 11 from 3. That 3-point percentage is especially gross. That honestly makes me like this play even more. It's a classic flip-flop method type of play. The best example of one I can find, that and the VanVleet one. And the matchup against the Bucks, it's still juicy. Just because he went under last game does not scare me off from him tonight. The entire year's sample size tells us that the Bucks struggle guarding guards like Donovan Mitchell, who can pull up from anywhere and who are also adept at the pick and roll. So yeah, he only scored 23 points last time. The 3 previous games against the Bucks, he had scored 30 in all 3, or 30 or more in all 3. He had 36, 34, and 31 points in each of the last 3 games heading into this most recent one. Would have cashed it all 3 times. Now, the last time that he played the Bucks prior to this one, he shot 4 of 8 from deep. 50% is a lot better than 2 of 11. So there's nothing about the matchup, as I mentioned, that would scare me off. As an honorable mention, I do like his 3-pointers as well. You can do 4+ for decent odds, or 5+ if you really want to get spicy. I like both of them, just unit size accordingly. On the entire year, to get back to our official play, the Bucks have given up the 4th most points per game to point guards in the NBA. Like I said, we've targeted guards against the Bucks all year. Generally, it's come through for us. Just because one game where it didn't is not going to scare me off. So we're riding once again with the Donovan Mitchell train. Next up, in the Thunder versus Pelicans game, taking Josh Giddey under 10.5 points. This is best offered, actually -113 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Got a little bit of a better price than I got myself. If you follow myself, I mentioned this previously, but it's not been a great year for Josh Giddey, both on and off the court. Seems to be somewhat of the odd man out on the court of the young studs on the Thunder, like Jalen Williams and and Holmgren and SGA. Then off the court, I'm not going to even get into that off the court fiasco. On the year, if you look at his point total props, he's gone under this number in 21, he's gone over this number in 21 of 43 games, which actually hitting it around half the time, that's actually a little bit better than I thought. More recently, he's missed it in 6 of 10 and in 3 of 5. So he's been about half the time on the year, not so much recently. And the thing with Giddey, he's a better playmaker than he is a scorer, right? Like he's a pretty good passer. He's got good vision. He's not a super talented scorer. Like he's not a great shooter. He'll shoot if he's wide open, but he's not a great shooter, and he doesn't like to shoot, and nor does he shoot very often. And this is also a really, really tough matchup against the Pelicans. It's a long, lanky, physical defense that the Pelicans have, who just do not give up a lot of points to guards like Giddey. In fact, they give up literally the fewest points per game to someone of Giddey's scoring profile. And that makes a lot of sense. Like the 6 of the last 8 shooting guards against the Pelicans have gone under their point total over under. Granted, one of those guys that went over was Devin Booker, who scored 52, and I might or may not have been on his under that night. But Giddey is not even close to the offensive weapon talented player like Booker is. Obviously, the props and the odds reflect that as well. It's an over-under of 27.5 versus 10.5. But regardless, it's a great, great night to fade Josh Giddey. Last up, our 10th pick, our last official play. Victor Wembanyama over 23.5 points, minus 105 odds is the best offer per the Betting Pros consensus. For most plays, I do like the flip-flop method. That's not the case here with Wemby. He's been on fire. He scored 25 he scored 25 or more points in 5 of his last 10 games, and he scored over 23.5 in 8 of his last 10 games. So he's been great. Even though he's playing limited minutes, he's been on fire. What he's able to do per minute is astounding. So it's not like his recent success is because he's playing more. No, he's just been playing way better in the same limited minutes between like 26 and 28 minutes. And now for this matchup against the Blazers, very, very good matchup for Victor Wembanyama. The Blazers defense is actually a little bit better than you would expect from a young team like they are. I'll give them that, but they struggle against big men, skilled big men like Wemby who can shoot. They give up the most points per game to someone of Wemby's scoring profile. And on the year, Wemby has scored 25 plus points in 10 games. So again, that's a point higher than even what we're taking him at. But half of those times he scored 25 points was in the past 10 games. So 5 of his 10 games has come recently. And again, in 3 of those games, he scored 24. So he's been playing great recently. I love backing Wemby tonight. That is our 10th and final pick, our last unit play as well. And that is all we got. Appreciate everybody for watching and sticking with me after the rough stream on Wednesday. After the horrible luck we had Wednesday, today feels like a great night for us to have some success. Remember to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you're not already. Follow me on all social medias at Jedi Modai, as you can see on the screen here. Appreciate everybody for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week.